Can you see it
Yep.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Community Advisory Group for the Eastside Coastal Resiliency Project, meeting number 46. I am Desiree Gazzo from HNTV Lero, the program management, construction management. I'm joined here tonight with members from DDC and the larger city team to present updates on the Eastside Coastal Resiliency Project. The focus areas for today are construction progress and approach. We have the AQM, which we'll go over, a little update on the hiring compliance, a little update on the park amenities and community programming and coordination. So we'll go over, kind of typical what we usually go over. We did send the agenda out earlier today. We're just using this slide as a reminder that we do have the Esker to Your School program, as well as tabling and attending community events. So please reach out if you would like us to table at one of your events or even just a normal day of the week in front of your buildings or in your neighborhoods, etc. The project area overview, as we usually do, again, project area 1 is in yellow, project area 2 is in the salmon-y color, and then parallel conveyance is spread between the two programs. Those are the red lines there. So on earlier this month, June was 18th. Yep. We had our quarterly Work With Us event. It was really exciting. We tried a new format where we had attendees go into, we had the kind of open house feature where we had different tables set up for folks to visit. But then we had this new portion where we had attendees go into separate rooms with different folks on our team, one of our community construction liaisons, the program manager from IPC, or construction manager rather, from IPC was there, John Paget, and one or two other folks. And they spoke to their career paths, how they got to where they are, what their role is on the Eastside Coastal Resiliency Project. So it was a kind of a new take on the quarterly information sessions. I think it was really positive. The folks who attended were, really excited about the new format. We had about 48 folks register, 9 from Lower East Side zip codes, and then 13, which some were within the 9 from Sandy impacted zip codes. The overall attendees ended up being about 17. 4 were from the Lower East Side zip codes, and then 5 again from Sandy impacted zip codes. And I think this is something that we definitely want to duplicate in the future. Typically, we do 2 in-person events for the year and then 2 virtual events. So perhaps in the fall, we'll look to do something similar again. But it was a really great event. I'm sorry for those who, couldn't make it. But again, something to think about when we have the next one, and we will continue to have these. So again, we love when you could share with your community members, the things that we're doing. So this is the overview of contracts for the kind of new work. The Delancey Street Bridge was installed. We'll go over that in just a little bit. The flood wall work is starting down by Montgomery Street. For project area 1. For project area 2, again, most of the work is in Murphy Brothers Playground. And for parallel conveyance, we have some Water Street updates. And then, they're doing some minor work in the Corlears Park area. So for project area 1, again, the Delancey Street Bridge was installed. That was a really great success. We have a couple of slides to show you that. We also sent around the project video, and it's on the website as well if folks didn't get a chance to see that. We're moving forward with the work on ball fields 3, 4, and 5, which is the deep sewer work, the drainage, fill and flood wall activities, um, the amenities we're rebuilding in the phase 1 portion of the project, the amphitheater, the nature exploration area. So a lot of work out there, a lot of different construction activities, again, to build back the phase 1 portion of the project. And then, some of the deep sewer work and the earlier utility work that we were doing there in ball fields 3, 4, and 5. As mentioned, I think we had this slide in the last CAG meeting, but the flood wall operations at Montgomery Street are starting. The contractor did some clearing and grubbing of the area, and then they're going to start with the kind of MPT work and, and then move forward with the flood wall operations. We did present to Gouverneur Gardens, and that presentation is on the website if folks want to kind of see what was discussed there. But generally, the work hours are going to be from about 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. On Saturdays, it will be 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Many of the sidewalks the sidewalks are open kind of in the near term, but then the sidewalks in this area where the flood wall construction is going to be closed, and then there will be this pedestrian detour as we see here. The parking lane along Montgomery will be taken, and then one lane on South Street will be taken, and that'll alternate left lane, right lane to do kind of the work that's in the road there. These are some of the photos of the Delancey Street Bridge installation. I was so upset I couldn't make it because I had to be somewhere else, but I definitely will be there for the Corlears Hook one. But it was pretty exciting from what I heard. This is the Delancey Street bridge on the SPMT machine that kind of drives it over, into place. And then this is the photo of the 2 cranes lifting it up. If you look back at the last presentation, I had a fantastic illustration that showed the same thing. It looks almost exactly the same. But it was really great. Everything opened on time the next day, and the project engineers were really pleased with how everything went. This is the bridge installed in place, and the rendering that we've shown in the past, and some of the project team, DDC and our project team members the next day in front of the bridge. So we're all really excited about hitting this milestone. And again, we look forward to the Corlears Hook Bridge later this year. So I think at the last CAG meeting or potentially the one before that, there was a question about some of the work that's happening in ball fields 3, 4, and 5. So we have a couple of photos here about the tide gate and sluice walls and that are being installed there. That is part of the drainage improvements. And I did speak with one of our field engineers. I think Diane, I think you had asked if Diane is on. Actually, I don't even know if she's on, but I think there was a question about some of the work down there, and it was receiving water from the East River. And they said that that's typical of, when they're working down there, and then they have the dewatering procedure which pumps out the water. So that is common. But this is a kind of a close-up of some of the work that they're doing out there. And essentially they're adding storage capacity inside the system, the stormwater system that's already out there, to prevent excess water from going into the river all at once. So essentially, instead of having stormwater collected and then there's just a straight shot out into the river, these tide gates and chambers allow the water to circulate and move around within the system and then slowly exit out into the river. So as you could see here on this photo, this is one example where the water is being directed, and you could see this kind of curvature in the chamber is being directed out and into kind of another chamber, and then into the rest of the system. In if there is excess of water, which would happen in a storm or other kind of events, then when the water reaches the kind of top elevation of this part of the concrete, then it starts to exit through this way. So it's this system to help control and spread out the water kind of underneath in the park, so that again, the water doesn't exit into the river all at once. And then there's also tide gates, which can be closed to prevent backup from the system. So if the water in the river gets higher, then the tide gates close so that the water doesn't go backwards into the park and into the neighborhood. So it's this kind of complex drainage and stormwater system, that's working, that they're building underground, which is really exciting. For those who were on the CAG site walkthrough, there was mention of the eco block and C-pillars, which was also new to me when I was out there, but we were able to get some photos and see the eco blocks. And essentially they act to enhance biodiversity and foster the marine habitats that are along here. So the kind of contouring in the blocks collects the tidal water, and it creates areas for little marine life to live and grow and thrive. So these are some of the photos from one of the EcoBlock websites that shows the EcoBlocks in there and how they kind of foster this biodiversity. So it's really exciting to have as part of our project. And and then part of that, something that goes with that also are these C-pillars. So there's essentially a pipe pile in the center, and then they drop, this is one piece right here. So this is kind of the pouring the concrete into that pipe pile to stabilize it. And then they drop these kind of square pieces onto the pipe pile, and the pieces have all these little, nooks and crannies and things for the sea animals or sea life or river life in this case to attach to and grow and create kind of little ecosystems. So I think two very exciting elements of the project that you don't really get to see when you're in the park. So we just wanted to share those with you, as well as some other construction photos, excavation for floodgates, nature exploration, boulder install, and some of the amphitheater seating, foundation, and formwork. So things are moving along out in the park, and we're really excited to see them moving forward. For the amenity update, there have been several questions, and I know there was a CAG letter, and we're just finalizing the responses to most of the questions. We still have one or two that we're still waiting on information from. But as mentioned earlier, ball fields 1 and 2 are scheduled to open in September of 2024. The ball fields will be opened from dawn to dusk. There will not be electric, so there won't be lights, so we can't keep it open when it's dark. Water and electric will not be available to the fields in September. And then again, because we will have to close at dawn and dusk due to the lack of lighting, the ball fields and the end of the Delancey Street Bridge will be closed, to prevent folks from entering the park at night. Parks is responsible, as always, for the permitting of fields 1 and 2. And then as far as other amenities, as of right now, it looks like fields 1 and 2 are the only amenities that will be opening this year, and there will just be a path from the Delancey Street Bridge, which is in green here, and then the path to the ball field. So as of right now, it does not look like there will be additional areas for walking and additional circulation areas, which we had talked about earlier. If anything does change, we will of course present that in a later presentation. But as of right now, it will just be ball fields 1 and 2 as they continue to construct the rest of the amenities that are, that you just saw photos of around the ball field. And again, first and foremost is safety of the pedestrians during construction. And that's what, we're trying to maintain as we finish constructing the south end of the park. For what we've heard, the Fireboat House, the alternatives analysis is ongoing. The next step in that process that was presented was that the city will present the analysis to the consulting parties. The ball field 7, there were some questions about a design change in making ball field 7 a softball design field. So the design changes are in progress for that. For Pier 42, per parks, Pier 42 is scheduled to, the upland area is scheduled to open July 3rd. There were also some questions on the loads for the pedestrian bridges. I think on our site visit, we received some as well. So the Corlier's Hook Bridge will be able to hold pedestrians and emergency vehicles. The Delancey Street and the East 10th Street bridges will be able to hold pedestrians and then small parked vehicles. So like those little 4-wheeled maintenance vehicles that they have, but they will not be able to support emergency vehicles like ambulances, etc. Only the Corlier's Hook Bridge. For the compost area, City Hall, Parks and GBC, again, are working with Lessick on the future compost area designs. And then as I mentioned, the CAG questions that I know we received a couple of them, the responses are in progress. Very quickly on PA2, the Stuyvesant Cove Park and Astor Levy Park are open. The majority of the construction work is in Murphy Brothers. And then EDC is working on the construction in that Solar One area. I know our PA2 folks have been receiving a lot of questions about the closed area and asking when it's going to open. So if anyone from the CAG or anyone from your communities, have those questions, it's really EDC who is leading that project. So we will ask that you kind of direct those questions to EDC, as that is not part of the ESCR project. Once we get permission to work in that area, we will complete the Stuyvesant Cove Park landscape there. But right now, EDC is in charge of the work in that area. These are just a few photos of in Murphy Brothers. So this is the T-ball field that's under construction, the fence posts and some of the seating areas in the large dog run, and then installation of the exposed sidewalks. So we're really excited to see that playground take shape. For the environmental reporting updates, for PA1, we did have some changes to where the AQM monitors were, since there has been more construction work in ball fields 3, 4, and 5. 7, location 7, which was originally over to the south a bit more, did shift to the ball fields 3, 4, and 5 area, and 12, which was over where 7 is, did move down a bit further to the other side of Houston Street to provide more coverage there. So as we've always said, the locations of the air quality monitors will change as the construction changes and progresses. And you'll be able to see that change in the both in the, we pull these slides and summarize them on the environmental page on the website. So you'll be able to flip back and forth and see the difference between the two, and then on the quarterly report. So for project area 1 for last month, so for May, there were a lot of, quite a few exceedances that were in the, 15-minute range. Some of them were a bit higher. Again, the majority were due to the on-site construction activities and construction vehicle traffic. We did receive a couple of complaints about some of the dust, so that contractor is actively working to apply those dust suppression techniques throughout the workday. I think usually in the summer we do see a bit more dust, so we have reiterated the importance of the watering trucks and really getting a hold on that. But anyway, these are the numbers for this month, and there were no exceedances in the East 10th Street area. For PA2, the monitoring locations have remained the same, and there were just a few exceedances there, mostly short, and then a couple of long duration exceedances, again due to the on-site construction activities. And then, we have some notes here that on 5/6, there was elevated PM 2.5 readings observed citywide. So some of these longer duration ones were potentially due or likely due to those. For parallel conveyance, and then we'll take questions. Sorry, Paula and Tara, are you having admit abilities? Okay, yes. Yeah.
Yes, I see that someone just was waiting in the room. I let them in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I just don't recognize all of those, so I just wanted to make sure. Okay, great. So for location 1, we have the utility relocation and test pits, prep for excavation for the South Intergate chamber, begin sewer work, sidewalk and trench restoration by South Street. And then starting July 2nd is going to be the closure of Water Street from Gouverneur Slip East to Jackson Street for continuation of the new 24-inch sewer work. Again, as mentioned, we did meet with Vladeck in May, and we met with Gouverneur Gardens just a couple of weeks ago to go over the work that was happening there. And then we will be meeting with Vladeck again, actually tonight. And then on location 2, we have a utility relocation and test pits, Lewis Street and Delancey Street. Also, utility relocation and test pits, honestly, in most of the other locations. Location 6 is only the test pits. And then we have water main installation in location 3, some Con Ed work in location 5, and location 4, which is around Houston Street. We have one of the bus stops there have intermittent closures, and we've put out advisories for that work. For the Water Street closure, this is the stretch from Gouverneur Slip East to Jackson Street. This work will begin, mobilization will begin next week on July 2nd, and it'll be ongoing for about 3 to 4 months. The typical work hours will be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. It will be a full roadway closure, so sometimes we are able to reopen roadways at the end of the working shift. This will be a full roadway closure for the duration of this work. So there will not be parking on Water Street. The same work will need to happen on Gouverneur Slip East and Jackson Street, but it won't happen all at the same time. So the contractor will work on Water Street starting in July for 3 to 4 months. Then Gouverneur Slip East will follow. And then after that, the South Street and Jackson Street restoration will be after that. Gouverneur Slip East will be within that 3 to 4 months. South Street restoration and Jackson Street will be outside of the 3 to 4 months. And then there'll be more details to follow we did send out an advisory yesterday, but it will go out with the mass mailing tomorrow. And on the advisory, it also notes that, again, if you need to have deliveries scheduled or a special accessoride or pickups or Uber, etc., it would be best to note a location that is not on Water Street. These sidewalks will be open. So I think deliveries in this area typically park off of Water Street was my understanding when we met with Gouverneur Gardens. And then the delivery folks will kind of walk in the items. So, please just make sure if you're having any special deliveries or etc., accessoride pickups to alert the drivers, or again, drop the pin in a location that's not on Water Street. And again, our, community construction liaisons are available. Tanya is our community construction liaison for PC, so please don't hesitate to reach out to her with any questions. The Corliers Hook Park construction activities. Right now, the team is currently doing some subsurface investigations, again, making sure they know where everything is underground. And then we'll provide more updates on the work that's happening there. These are some of the construction photos, backfilling of a Con Ed steam main on Columbia Street, the encasement of a steam main at East 20th between Avenue C and the East 20th Street loop, and then just some restoration of a sidewalk on South Street. So that is the end of our presentation for this evening. Again, we hope that some of the information was kind of exciting and new, like the C-pillars. And we are available for questions. Oh, one other thing I would like to note, I think many of you know Parker, who was on our engagement team, left the program, but we do have a new person on the engagement team, Ethan. So we would just briefly like to introduce Ethan as part of the team. So he is fairly new and will not be answering questions, but we look forward to, again, having him attend the community board meetings, the tabling events, and supporting the project. So we'd just like to welcome him.
Thanks, Desiree, and welcome, Ethan. So Frank is trying to get back in through his phone. I'm not sure, 646. So I'm trying to see, 646. Yeah, I think he's in. Okay. So does anyone have any questions?
I think there are some hands raised.
Why don't I see them?
Yeah. I see them.
Okay.
I don't know in which order.
Oh, I see them now, yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to start with Trevor.
Yeah, generally the order, what you see on your screen is the order of raised hands, just to let you know. So my question is quick in clarification. You had said for ball field number 7, there was a design change. I'm just not exactly sure what that means.
Sure, there was a request that came in about whether or not the field will be able to, apparently and I'm not a recreational expert, but apparently baseball fields are can be designed, to accommodate softball and or baseball. And many of the fields that we have in the park are baseball fields, and there was a request to make ball field 7 able to play softball as well. So that request was recognized by Parks, and that design change is in progress. It's not a huge design difference. I think it's the, how the probably
It's
the bases
about the amount
are.
of dirt in the infield, Desiree. It's not, that's it,
Right, right.
versus grass.
Yep.
I'm listening to two people. Say again.
It's
Sorry,
about
Jeff,
the
go
amount
ahead.
of dirt in the infield versus grass. So the softball field generally doesn't have grass in the infield.
Okay.
If you watch a, ESPN college softball game, it's all dirt versus a baseball game has grass in the infield, generally
Got it.
speaking.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, next is Diane.
Hi, Desiree.
Hi.
Back to the September opening of fields 1 and 2. That's perfect. And so did I hear you correctly when you said that nothing else in, area 1 will open before the end of 2024?
That is what we have been told, correct?
Okay. And so then what impact will the opening of fields 1 and 2 have on the north end above, like roughly 6th Street or Stanton?
We are still not taking anything more.
Okay, so we can expect the north end to remain open through the end of 2024 unless something happens faster in the south?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I have a question about fields 1 and 2. My fault for not asking this a long time ago, but in the old ball fields, there are bleachers, right? And at the track. I was looking at the PDC document and I couldn't tell whether there's seating for observers at fields 1 and 2. It looks like, and especially the reason I'm asking is because it looks like there's some bench seating in the surrounding lawn areas, but the surrounding lawn areas are not going to open right away, it looks like, from this picture. So I'm kind of wondering essentially if like kids come over to play there and their families come, will there be room on fields 1 and 2 to accommodate the families this fall, or will they have to wait until there's a fuller opening of the area?
Yeah, I will look into the specifics on the seating. We did ask if there would be seating available come September, and we were told that there would not be seating, but what that future seating looks like, and where there would be space for seating, we can ask that question.
Yeah, that would be good to get some clarification because I've looked at the PDC documents, but it's really hard to tell just from the
Yep.
renderings. So clarification would be great.
Yeah, we can look into that and provide more detail for you.
Okay,
Definitely.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Robin.
Hi, Desiree. Can you hear me? Okay. I also have questions about these fields. One,
Okay.
so first of all, field 1 and 2, there is no dirt at all. They're 100% artificial turf. I'm assuming that you're saying that field 7 and the northern fields are going to be more configured to be just for baseball and softball with dirt infields. That's my first question.
Well, I know definitely field 7 is,
I can hop in if you're.
I'll have to find out about the other field.
In other words,
Um,
the base,
baseball field.
right, the base is,
Desiree,
Field 5.
Luke is on, if you want to.
Oh,
Yeah,
Luke
go
is
ahead,
on.
Luke.
Go ahead,
How's it
Luke.
going, everybody? My name's Luke, by the way. I'm with the Parks Department. So I think Desiree knows more than I about most, but for some of these things. So specifically, field 7 will have the clay infield. That's what we're working towards based on making it, oriented for softball. But then 5 and 6 will be natural grass turf on the infield.
Thank you, Luke.
I'm sorry, what about, will the base paths on 5 and 6 be clay also?
Like to be specific, I think there's a ring of clay that surrounds the natural grass
Right.
infield.
Okay.
So that would be in that orientation, yeah.
Okay. It's interesting for all these years to be sitting and hearing these designs. It's kind of like when you renovate your kitchen and you walk into it and suddenly you don't like the way the shelves look until you see them. All these questions keep coming up about shade and seating. So again, when we toured fields 1 and 2, there's no shade at all. And we were or dugouts. And so we were asking if that's possible to put them in. Is it, will there be shade structures and dugouts built into fields 5, 6, and 7?
I think a question like that, we'll have to check through the specific design documentation, but we can get back to you. And I agree at minimum, there should be tree provided shade, but if you wanted something more robust, I think that's a conversation that we should have.
Yeah, I'm talking more about the dugouts where players are sitting, in the hot sun for hours, because generally, like, all this money's been put into the construction of this park, and to have people just have like tie up their plastic, covers is very 20th century. Okay. Also, who will be policing this closing of fields 1 and 2 if the bridge is closing at dusk? And if it's like what happens now with our local parks, oftentimes they're not closed at dusk. And so will there be a parks personnel on site every evening at dusk to make sure that nobody's left inside the park?
Yeah, so what won't happen is we won't just close the gate and, hope everyone left. It definitely, I share your concern. It's going to be a challenge to get everybody out. That is a thing that we have to staff. But right now, the understanding is it would be Parks Police in conjunction with maybe an M&O or a maintenance and operations staff that would go in every night and clear it. And then they would lock it once everybody left. And we do that with our playgrounds throughout the borough.
And my final question having to do with that, often these fields are used by the schools for their afternoon baseball games and softball games. And so if the game is running into dusk, and will there be a conversation between the Parks Police and the referees and the umpires and the coaches about who actually stops the game?
Yeah, I mean, dusk is not exactly a hard line. So I think that's
Okay.
Common sense should prevail. What we don't want is the games to go into the night and create unsafe conditions. And there's also scheduling that has to occur. But I share your concern that, we don't want to abruptly end a game because of quote unquote dusk. But this is the exact parameters of how the fields were going to be laid out. That's something we're still working through, like how we're going to staff this. So before, let's say, the next CAG meeting, ideally I'll have a better answer as to how we are exactly addressing your concerns.
Thanks. I think it might be, a community engagement, conversation as well. Thinking about that. Thanks so much. That's it for me.
Oops. Eric, question?
Sure. Yeah, just a quick comment and a question. First, thank you so much for taking into consideration the softball field for field 7. It really is symbolic in many ways, but it sends a wonderful message to all the softball players across Manhattan that there will be a field that's designed for their needs amidst, several other fields that, are not targeted towards softball. So thank you very much. I know there's gonna be a lot of softball players that are happy to hear it. So thank you. Just a quick question, Murphy Park. Do we know when Murphy Park is going to open, and not a specific date, but just kind of asking spring 2025 or fall 2025, just for programming?
Good question. I don't have the schedule in front of me. Nadine, I think Nadine is on. Nadine, do you have a better update on when Murphy Brothers is supposed to have open?
I know that we suppose construction at Murphy will be completed at sometimes in October.
Yeah, that's what I
So
thought.
I'm not sure if it's going to happen. Open soon after that, but this is the time that's the completion date.
Oh, sorry. So you're saying October 25 or October 24?
No, this October,
year.
this upcoming October. Yes.
Okay.
24.
So then the hope would be for the spring season of 25, it would be back online.
It should
I know
be.
you're not. Yes, great. We could at least plan for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, who is next here? Wendy.
Hi. I have a couple outside the box questions. I've been going to some energy things and where they're talking about thermal energy networks and wastewater as a source of power. I wondered when you showed slide number 12, if there's been any thinking about that is these giant holding tanks are being built. Is there any kind of future purpose potential for this water?
Wendy, I don't believe anything specific was built into the project, but we can get back to you on future potential. I think that might also be kind of a DEP question, as they are taking over and managing a lot of this infrastructure. But we could certainly kind of pass it to them and see if they have any plans of that nature within their, future planning documents.
Okay, and thank you. And I looked up the Eco Armor, now page 14 on your thing. I just put the link in the chat, what I found about the eco biodiversity blocks. And I'm glad you're doing this. Is there anything akin to it happening on land? Any kind of biodiversity support mechanism, infrastructure or green infrastructure or planning for biodiversity on land? Because I don't
know
remember. Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I know there was a lot of effort put into the planting design to be able to support biodiversity, to be able to support migrating birds, pollinator, things like that. As far as like a structure, like the pillars or the eco blocks, not that I am aware of, but I also wasn't aware of these, when we started the project. So I could certainly bring the question back and see if there are, similar things happening inland. I'm trying to, I think there were supposed to be some greening of the structures. But yeah, again, I think a lot of it was done in the plantings, but we'll certainly bring it back and check.
I'm really glad to hear there's you hit your net, you hit the nose on head on, whatever the expression is, but these blocks weren't in the plans, right? They were new to all of us.
No, I think they were. They're in the plans. I don't think it was. I think perhaps because so much of the focus was on the amenities and, some of the more visual things, perhaps, this just wasn't talked about. But I think this is, again, absolutely fantastic. I was so excited when we learned about it, but they're in the plans. Yeah.
Well, I hope there's some in the plans for the land side. One last question. You showed you moved one of the air quality things to 6th Street. And that's right where construction workers' vehicles go in and out. How is there any correlation with their incoming and outcoming time? Because I know they mostly come and go at the same, more or less the same time. Because right where you have number 13 is flanked by parking lots full of cars from, upstate New Jersey, etc.
So 13 was that's been here, 13. What moved was 7 and 12. 7 was, I think, around the tennis court area where the trailers used to be. So 7 moved down to ball fields 3, 4, 5. And then 12 was at around ball fields 3, 4, and 5, and that moved over here to where the slip ramp is in this location to provide more air quality monitoring, again, along the access road that is right now being used more because the trailers are on the other side of the park. So the air quality monitors, they work 24/7. They don't, so we're getting readings for them regardless of what time the trucks are going back and forth. If you're asking about the readings specifically, and if they're tied to when the vehicles, we'd have to look into that a little bit more. That would be in the quarterly reports, but again, we could find out before.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sorry, I'm trying to see who's next. Frank. You still there, Frank?
He just fell off. Maybe he'll be back in a second.
Okay, well then let's move on to Christine.
Thank you. Yeah, I just have a quick question. Well, two quick questions. So, no lights, no seating, no shade. It looks like, how about water for the ball fields when they open?
There will not be water available either. Those utilities have not come online yet.
Right. And then, of course, no surprise there on page 16, that slide. I'm just curious about the compost yard, because there is a new, something, you added something to it. It says temporary MNO, parks MNO. And it was my understanding that this area is being used to assemble the Corliss Hook Bridge next. And then I'm just wondering what kind of temporary MNO yard is planned there, for when, and why?
Luke, do you have any more on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have anything, and I'm kind of surprised by it as well, because if there was kind of a theory that we would need the M&O space, we have one in Pier 42, which we've already occupied. So I don't think that that's accurate.
Okay, maybe that was left over from something. We'll get some confirmation on that, Christine.
Yeah, it was never on a slide because I would have noticed it. So it's something that, who knows where it came from, but I would appreciate if you could update us on that. Thanks.
Sounds good.
Okay, Martin.
Okay, has the pinch point been resolved?
Jeff, do you want to speak to that?
Sure, the project is still funded. It's still moving forward. It has not progressed as we would have liked, but we will hopefully have some more news in the coming months about next steps. But there's still a commitment to I think we're calling it the East River Greenway at this point, but we have not, again, we have not made as much progress as we would have liked.
Okay, had a walkthrough with Solar One. They haven't seen much of the gardener who put in the plantings. We've been thankful that we've had 15 inches more rain than normal this year. The gardener from Solar One would have liked some sort of electricity so as to be able to shoot water in her watering, rather than using the water can and stretching her arm. Having not seen the gardener except maybe once, the contractor gardener maybe once, they don't know what's going to be living after the 2 years that contract is over. It looks problematic. And as Stuyvesant Cove Park Association has been asking from the get-go to have electricity available, we were able to find a sound tech who had his own generator, and so we were able to have our first concert this past week, and we have 7 more planned. We noticed in several places, splashing up from the river splashes onto tables. So some of the places where the tables have been bolted to the ground were not the optimal, because people sitting there are likely to have the river in their lap. It's a problem. Somebody also asked, when will the asphalt between the water walls be removed? If in fact Superstorm Sandy came this week, I don't know how the walls would be able to be moved.
So Martin, I'll start from the beginning. With the plant material, we can definitely look into the contractor's kind of regularity or schedule in coming to water. We could look into that. The contractor is responsible to provide plant replacements should plants die at, in that maintenance period. So, material that potentially does not make it through the maintenance period would be replaced before handing the project over. As far as the watering, it was my understanding that there were water connections for hoses throughout the park. So I'm not sure what.
Solar One doesn't know where they are.
Okay, well, maybe that's something we could facilitate a walkthrough with our team and Solar One to take a look at where they are, because that was my understanding from the beginning. We had several conversations about the number and the location of them, and we sent Solar One drawings of where they are, so we could recirculate that so that way and again make sure that they're fully functional, etc. That's really great to hear that you had the first concert. Congratulations.
Over 100 people showed up.
Amazing. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I have to get on that mailing list. I don't think I'm currently on it, so I'll have to sign myself up. And then as far as the location of the tables, we'll have to, I don't know. Well, I could bring that comment back and see, if anything could be done about that. I'm not sure if the tables, perhaps they didn't used to be as close to the seawall. I don't recall. I thought there were some that were very close to the water's edge, because I know a lot of folks like sitting, like being close to the water's edge. So we'll have to take a look out there. I'm not sure, again, what can be done, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. And then was there something at the end of that?
The asphalt in between the water
asphalt.
walls.
Yes, thank you. So the gate or the flood protection system it's not, complete to be functional at this time. Though the walls and the gates are in, part of the parallel conveyance portion is not in. This PA2 connects to PA1 to create the full flood protection system. So once all of that is connected and finished, then, either before that or at a minimum at that time, the asphalt that's in the track of the floodgates would be removed. They are working on permanent solutions to addressing that, potential trip area. So the teams are looking into different options for that so that the asphalt can be removed. A permanent kind of potentially like a grate or something would be put there before the flood protection system becomes operational.
So that won't happen until 26.
Potentially sometime before 26. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question.
Okay, I'm gonna call on Frank next because he was trying to ask a question before, but we couldn't hear him. So go ahead, Frank.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, technology. So hey Desiree, and it's nice to meet you as well, Luke. And I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Desiree, would you go to the I think it was like if I'm not mistaken, back-to-back slides about Gouverneur Gardens on the flood wall and the parallel conveyance. Yeah. Okay. So let me just, I was aware of the, the right-of-way closure for the flood wall. Regarding that, if it's possible, I would love any kind of signage that can be developed that we can distribute so that people know in advance that that area is closed, because the back where you kind of have that rectangle or that cube, that's our community room entrance. So it would
Yeah.
be great to, yeah. But then what I didn't know, can you just repeat or remind me of, with the parallel conveyance, I think there was actually another slide, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm gonna go forward to parallel conveyance. Give me 1 second.
Yes, perfect, this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I see. So I just want to take a better look at this for a second. I know that Water Street is closing from Gouverneur to Jackson next week, but just walk me through. So the detour is for foot traffic, or I'm sorry, just what is this? The dotted line indicating the detour is for? This is, oh, this is,
For vehicles. Vehicular
oh,
traffic.
I see. I see. So it's going all the way around. Okay, now I just caught up to speed here. Like now so this is for people coming, where would they be coming from here?
From Montgomery?
Right. So from Montgomery through Water, so then go up and around. Okay. Yeah, that's what we figured, but sorry, bear with me. I couldn't see on the cell phone easily.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Um,
I mean, essentially, once folks get used to Water Street being closed, if they're coming down Montgomery, it would be best for them to just turn on Madison and then go down Jackson Street if they need to not park on Water and park on
So
Jackson.
that
Then
was, yeah. So that was just gonna be my question. What, maybe you said this and I just missed it, but are there any detour signs traffic
there
wise that
will
are
be,
gonna be posted
yeah,
beyond
100%.
before you get to this area? So for example, on Madison, like, or do you know where they're gonna be posted?
I don't know where they will be posted. We can try and get that information to you, the MPT
Okay.
locations for
All
the
right.
signage.
It would just be obviously easier for people to know before they get there, before they get into that rhythm, of course.
Sorry.
All right, that was it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
IO. Io, do you have a question?
I do have three, actually. So, the first question is about, was actually about the Ecology Center. I think Diane, I'm sorry, Christina, asked the basic question, but to be clear, the little dot that showed its location is a mobile structure. Is that correct? At this time?
I'm sorry, I don't understand exactly what you mean. The dot
There
will
was
be a mobile structure?
No, I'm not asking you. Well, yeah, I'm asking you, does that dot at this time represent a mobile structure?
Where it says compost yard?
Yes. Well, there's a little dot pointing up towards it, but where it says compost yard, yes, is that a mobile structure or what is that? Can you explain again, please, if you don't mind?
Sure. Jeff, I think you could speak to this, but it's my understanding that everything has not been designed, completely designed yet for the compost
Yeah. Are you
area.
talking about the circle IO? I think Desiree and Luke
Yes,
addressed that as a
yes.
potential mistake on the map.
Yeah,
The
Okay.
temporary parks with the stick and the circle at the end is a mistake.
right. But
So
just in general, the compost area and the Lessick building, et
that
cetera,
is
that has not been fully
correct.
designed.
That is, I know Christine, I don't want to speak on Christine's behalf, but we had several meetings, Parks, DDC, City Hall with Christine and her team, and those conversations are ongoing.
So there's,
I'll just add, just to put this to bed, there's conversations about what is exactly, how large of a structure, things of that nature, but there is no conversation about making this a Parks M&O facility. So that's not going to happen. So I hope to assuage any fears. So.
yeah, I'm confused. So it says compost yard. Will there or will there not be a compost yard there?
Yes, there will
And-
be.
And secondly, will there or will there not be a building in which employees work?
There will be some building. I think that's what Christine has made her request very clear, and that's what the city is reviewing right now.
Okay. Thank you. Please keep us updated on that.
Sure.
And also, I want to talk a little bit about, the historic discrimination, kind of like largely responsible for the lack of diversity in outdoor spaces, in New York City in particular, and specifically as it relates to the East River Park. As a parent of a child who grew up in this neighborhood, and the grandparent of a child who grew up in schools in this neighborhood specifically, and then working with education organizations citywide, there has always been, a lack of accessibility for schools that are predominantly black and brown. And I've mentioned this before. This is not a new conversation, to gain access to the space. So it's one thing to have the space. It's another thing to have a great space that's resilient, and accessible. It's another thing for people of color to be able to access and use it, equitably, which has not been the historic, history in this neighborhood regarding the East River Park. Most of the people who have used it are grandfathered from year to year. I don't know why. Or they are from private schools, or nonprofit organizations outside of the neighborhood. And yes, it's understood that this is public, green space. It belongs to all New Yorkers. But, in all of this discussion from day one and discussing what, the resiliency project should be, in a way, some people just don't care if it's not going to be accessible to the children in our schools. So, in talking about, 1 and 2 ball fields being open sometime in September, and for the Parks Department specifically, because you guys are the ones who get and approve parks. What is the conversation about this issue for the schools that are filled with Black and brown children in this neighborhood? With your department that will be issuing permits, and has that started already?
Yes. No, I mean, I should start. And I know that our recreation department has been in dialogue with the leagues and with schools. They didn't want to issue anything prematurely because we didn't know how construction was exactly going to play out. But I believe that there's a good dialogue going on right now between the teams that have been playing. I don't know if there's a specific problem that you've detected when it comes to Black and brown kids not having access to the fields. And if there is something, then we want to address that. But I think that
So are you,
in my
are you new to this conversation? And if so, that's okay. But this specific conversation has been going on for years, throughout the first, plan for flood protection, certainly since this newest plan occurred and has evolved over the years. This is an ongoing discussion. It's not new. So I guess I'm hearing what you're saying, and I appreciate it. But I'm wanting, and I'm pretty sure most other people on this call, or in this Zoom, are wanting to know specifically what is going to be done. We do not want it to be, the same as what was happening before. And unless there is an intentional change in the permitting process,
that is going to identify schools that need to use the space, which is not a big, it's not rocket science to do so. We're looking for something intentional. So conversations are going on. Sounds good. Specifically what? We need to know. And I'm happy to be part of that discussion, offline. So, yeah, I mean, we just cannot have, all of the majority white leagues from all over the city coming here and utilizing the best times that those spaces are available to them and not to our after-school programs or our phys ed teachers, our runners, our players, so on and so forth. So can you get back to us and to me on that?
Yeah, and I think you're clearly more knowledgeable on this this issue, and I can talk to the recreation team and kind of see what the response would be to that. But I think my focus is mostly on Esker, and it sounds like this is a larger issue throughout the city. But absolutely, we can get back to you.
Okay. And my last question is about the number of staff who are going to be assigned. When we started this project, there were, I don't know, Christina, please correct me if I'm wrong, there were 1 or 2 people assigned to the East River Park, 1 or 2 staff. So we're looking to find out what the expectation for assigning staff to this newly developed park might be.
I want to preserve that question, but I know that Desiree and Ethan, I think, have to leave to go to a meeting to Vladex. So do you mind if we take that also offline? The staffing question?
I don't mind taking it offline, but then I want it to be shared with the group as well. That's fine.
Sure.
Yeah. And that was it for me.
Okay, thank you. And then Diane and Christine, do you have new questions, or where did I just see your hands raised from before?
I have a new question.
Do you have time, Desiree?
If they're quick, that's fine. We just have to get over to Vladex. So, typically we end at 5, but I know there was a lot to talk about today.
So Desiree, I was just going to say, I know I had asked in advance of the meeting if we could talk about, storm preparations for this summer. It's not in the presentation. I'm sure you don't have time to do it now. And of course you should be meeting with Vladex. But I'm wondering if you could bring an update on that to CB3's Parks meeting on July 11th.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. And I know this question came up last year as well. And, I think in general, the field folks have their kind of standard operating procedures of what happens in high wind conditions and what happens in, in rain conditions, that everything needs to be tied down. And, the city issues alerts to contractors in advance of bad weather, coming. So preparation and, would be taken out in the, in the field. But, and I do recall there not being, something absolutely specific, it is there. It is up to the contractor to decide whether or not he moves certain equipment off of the, out of the area to keep it safe, and, what protocols he does to, maintain that area. But, of course, we don't want things, again, if it's storms and things that could blow away or etc., would have to be tied down or secured. And again, that was kind of what the direction was last year, but I will go ahead and ask. I did mention it, but I didn't get an update about that.
Okay,
but we could mention it at this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And Christine, do you have a quick question?
Yeah, it's quick. So I'm just want to I guess hear it for the record. Unless the whole entire Esker from 26th Street down to Montgomery is complete, you will not activate any of the floodgates?
That is my understanding, that the full flood system needs to be completed for the, the full flood system to work, because it is connected. But we will go back and make sure that my response is correct there.
Yeah, and the other question I was wondering about is, since you know now from PS2 that these rails for the floodgates are, you know, problematic, did you redesign what you're installing on the lower portion?
That I would imagine, I would hope that, you know, that was considered in PA1 since the gates haven't been installed, but I'd have to just double confirm that for you.
All right, Wendy, do you have a quick question? I'm not sure if they even have time.
Yeah, no, I put it in the chat, just asking about if the park lighting's been designed to shine downwards as agencies, birding agencies recommend. And then maybe bring that back on to the next CB3 meeting. I don't know if you can see it, but Luke has his hand up too.
Luke. Go ahead,
We'll
Luke.
look at the lighting. I was just going to clarify for Pier 42, it's actually open right now to the public. So it's 6 acres of brand new parkland. The July 3rd date is when we're going to do the ribbon cutting. And I wanted to extend the invitation to everybody on this call. It'll be at 11 o'clock in the playground at Pier 42. So I just wanted to make sure that we all know it's open right now.
Amazing. Thank you. What great news. If that's all, again, please feel free to reach out to us via the inquiry tool, via Paula and Tara, or our community construction liaisons. You know, the CAG meeting isn't the only place to ask questions, so please feel free to reach out. And we will again present at the CB3 meeting in July, and then again the CAG in July after that. So thanks so much, everyone. We really appreciate it, and I can't wait to go to Pier 42, so hopefully we'll see you out there.
Thanks,
Thank
Desiree.
you.
Thanks, Desiree. Thanks, Luke.
All right. Okay, so as we typically do, let's take a 2-minute break and reconvene at for the CAG only conversation at 5:18.
Okay, thank you.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So I see that Christine and Frank have their hands raised. So Christine, I presume that's for this part of the meeting. Do you have a question or a comment?
No, actually, that was from before.
Oh, okay. Frank, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I do actually. Thanks. I just had a question surrounding Pier 42 because it somewhat falls in this kind of gray area for me at least because originally it's EDC property and then there was allegedly some kind of deed or agreement signed over to New York City Parks, but it wasn't really clear at what point it became fully New York City Parks purview. Nonetheless, I have been asking questions to various persons at different agencies for some time, and I don't know if this is something that CAG is interested because I just don't know where Pier 42 falls within the ESCO. I mean, I know how it lies. I know all the background history, and I should also say I've created about a year ago the Friends of Pier 42. So I have a vested interest in trying to figure out like how to get the answer to the original plan for Pier 42 has been changed because of the mitigation for Esker. And what I know a lot of other people are interested in is seeing the return to the original plan because we don't need the extra tennis and soccer fields remaining there once East River Park is fully reopened. And what we would like to have is our park waterfront views that were present in the original plan. And I've gotten mixed answers, nothing that I can take to the bank. And I just don't know. Again, my question is if this is an issue that the CAG would handle, or is this separate and I should continue my separate streams with New York City Parks, for example?
Paul, I can answer some of that.
Go ahead, Trevor.
So it is indeed Parks territory. There's a lot of history in this. I'm trying to see who else is on this call. I know Christine has been very involved, just going back decades of getting that land, which was once deemed for the garbage from 9/11 to be placed. So as a community, we fought to get that as public space, and it is indeed New York City Parks. The remaining portion of the plan, or phase two, is actually not complete. The tennis courts and the other fields that are there was a temporary thing, as you said, for mitigation. However, the remaining amount of the remaining phase is estimated cost, at least this was 5 years ago, at $96 million. And it's been difficult to get traction on raising that money. Our former Senator Daniel Squadron and Chuck Schumer did push for some money, but there still is a gaping hole of $96 million for the completion of the rest of the park. But it is
So what
indeed
you're
part.
saying, that I already knew, but what you're saying is that it wasn't already guaranteed in the original budget as something that's remained. It has now changed because of the mitigation, and this is what I feared, and that because then it's never going to happen. But so that's correct. It's not, and it's no longer earmarked.
There was never any earmark for it. There was no money for it ever for the 96 million.
Oh, in other words, the whole overall park is considered in and of itself the mitigation. So
No.
It's outside of that.
No. This is why there are folks here with a lot of history. The portion of the park that is complete was funded and completely funded from previous administrations and senators and city council members. The overall budget was over 100 million. The remaining portion is $96 million. There was never any money for that at all. And it would take a huge community push to get that $96 million to complete the park. There's no earmark money. There's nothing, at this point. We've asked
Got it. So then what would have happened if the community didn't advocate for mitigation for these courts?
It would have been a blank
It
spot
would just
or
been the
a,
flat, okay, the blacktop in a sense. Okay.
it wouldn't have, it'll look like what it did before they started the work. Basically
Yeah, yeah,
nothing.
yeah. Okay, got it. All right. I'm glad now I have my answer. Thank you.
I was going to add this link, which is now in the chat. It's a bit.ly. Why Pier 42 is it? Is the bit.ly. But I linked some articles from 2013, et cetera. So there's some history there. And maybe I wrote a draft resolution because there's a portion of that. So between the new temporary deck, upper deck, whatever it's properly called, and the esplanade behind Pier 36, what's blocking a continuous path is a DOT parking lot that if they moved it 15 or 20 feet, we could have a continuous walkway on the waterfront. But because it's there, we cannot. So to me, that was a very low cost, high value change in the plan, but you could see what other things I also suggested. But that was the main thing, is get DOT to relinquish 15 or 20 feet of the most eastward part of their lot.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Hi, it's Robin. I just have a comment. You
Okay.
know, it's too bad there's no room for changes to any of these designs, because as I was saying, like, none of us sort of realized in all these times we've been given these designs, like there's no dugouts or shade being built for any of the ball fields. It's kind of like, can you hold on a second, please?
We can't hear you, Robin.
Like, what do we do? Here we are. Oh my gosh, we're seeing the field for real. What do you mean there's no dugouts and no shade? Like, there's no contingency for that sort of stuff, which is really frustrating.
Their answer to us, when we've asked, where is this and where is that? The answer was, it wasn't in the original contract, so it isn't.
Right, but how do we, there's gotta be room for contingencies, for additions, for things that are missing. You know, this is a huge project, and on paper, you know, when you're presenting it to a board and at board meetings for the parks, it's like you go, okay, it looks good. But you know, if things are missed, how do we take that on and resolve that?
You know,
Try having your parks committee, the community board parks committee, put it in their budget priorities, and the city council person come up with the money for it.
and you know, that's what Sty Cove is doing, is they're fundraising for shade for the things that they had requested, right, Martin? That they said they were working on that, and I've already seen one solicitation. So the park, unlike, you know, PA1, unlike PA2, doesn't have a stewardship group already in place, already embedded in. It's going to be a long time till Lower East Side Ecology Center is back to advocate. This is, I think it's really who's going to ask for these things? Is the baseball teams going to try and get them from sponsors? And are we going to end up with advertisements all over the park? I wonder.
Yeah.
Well,
The community board, though.
Well, I don't know about the community board. You know, they can be in support of something, but they can't, you know, make something happen. But they can put it in their budget priorities, right? As a
Yeah, but
request.
I'm sorry.
But let me finish, please.
Yeah, okay.
Just if this is what needs to happen, then what you've said is correct. And we can begin now. We don't have to be a particular group in order to advocate for funding through our elected officials. Right?
But they're building,
How much it
I'm
costs.
sorry, Io, they're building the
Well,
park
I mean-
now. They're building the park now. Like,
Yeah,
why do we?
I'm aware of that until I'm talking about now what? I mean, we
No,
can't
but-
go back. We can't go back. So it's now what?
But
then
why can't there be any change? They're already making changes. They're making
I'm-
change to the softball field. So my question to
I'll
the
wait till you finish, Robin.
Thank you. My question to the group and is what can we do in the middle of the process of building this park to go, oops, hey, you got to put shade structures in, and then the design team has to go, okay, and they have to come up with they're in the middle of developing the park. It's like they're like this with blinders. They only can do what's on their piece of paper. Like, that's what I don't understand about this process.
Okay, so two things, but I'm sorry, are you finished? Because I don't want to interrupt you.
If you can answer my question, sure.
Well, I'd like to comment whether it answers your question or not about my thoughts about this issue, right? So I appreciate what you've said, because I do believe that regardless of what they've said about no changes, this, that, and the other, that's bullshit, right? Changes can be made, and plenty of other projects who are getting far more than we're getting in this project, such as along, the West Village and, Brooklyn, so on and so forth. They have made changes in the middle of, and we're not talking about really, we're not talking about difficult changes. We're talking about a dugout, we're talking about trees or whatever else, these are not big structural changes. They're just changes that require modification and funds. So I think both things can happen. And I honestly think it's not acceptable not to have these things in a plan. And whether or not we missed them, that's fine. We shouldn't have missed them. But certainly the planners in the city should not have missed the fact that we're talking about public green space. We're talking about the river. We're talking about the fact that we need shade in this space, especially where people are continually congregating. So I don't think that it would be out of the question to say, we're insisting. This is the advisory board, and we are insisting on this happening, period. We don't care what you say. We don't care what your explanations are, put it in. So that's one thing. But I also do think that there will be things that will not be in that we're going to need money for. And we should start talking now to our elected officials to say, can you consider this in your budget line items for next year? And as you well know, it's probably not going to be enough, and it might take 2 or 3 years for us to get the amount of money we might need, whatever the items are. So can we agree, this group among us, and then send it out to the wider group if necessary, that we want to send a letter to Park saying, however you wanted to say it, nicely or not nicely, but I mean, you don't ask somebody to build a house and leave out a wall.
Well, it's not Parks, right? It's the design.
I'm sorry. Yes. Well, it's kind of both. Yes, it is. You're right. But
So I'm all for that.
does anybody disagree, without?
I want to just say that it was a couple years ago when I made that little slideshow about Pier 42 that I tried to bring up shade, and people in this very group who don't come as often kind of made it seem like I was trying to be divisive. And I feel like we need to all be on the same page with whatever we do to try and get, whether it's participatory budgeting, which I think would go swimmingly, the number of groups we have, to encourage people to vote for our thing could maybe be a fairly fast way to get what we want. But I think we have to be clear about what we want. And there's many different, there's dugouts, there's shade. We don't even have a clear picture of where there will be shade. We can see little tiny dots. Those of us who went on the walkthrough, we were given a paper map with tiny dots, and there's 12 to 20 of them right along the water's edge. That's all the shade I could see on. And there's a lot more park than that. If any of you have been to Sty Cove lately, it's markedly hotter than the surrounding area. And you feel it right away. In fact, today I did not walk down there. I felt it was way too hot to. The whole park is going to be like that in our case. So let's think about how, what are our priorities? And some of us have already started collecting shade structure examples from around the city. I don't know how they really compare as far as maintenance goes. There's tons of them on the west side. If you go over to Little Island and Point South, you'll see lots of new kinds. Governor's Island is another place with lots of shade structures now.
But Wendy, that's fine. All right, and let's please try not to go, I mean, this is just my opinion, everybody has one. Let's not go back to what somebody thought and what somebody said. I mean, you know, do we want to revisit all that? Let's just go with.
No. My point is, I think we need to be on the same page as a group to be successful as advocates for
Right,
this
which is what, so without knowing what the structure would be or where the trees might be, so on and so forth. Since we don't know, and you raise a good point, let's get a picture of from DDC of all the shade spots. All right, let's just have them send us, you know, the plan. Does this make sense? You know, indicating where all the shade spots and what type of structure it's going to be. From there, we can, you know, being educated about exactly where they are, say, this is not enough. And, you know, there's no reason there shouldn't be some here because this is where people congregate, whatever it is. So let's get informed. So is anybody in disagreement that we ask Paula to write to DDC or whomever to ask for a plan that indicates where the shade spots, that be trees or structures? Anybody disagree with that? Just as
I think we could, I think we could cut to the chase.
Christine has her hand up.
Sorry.
Yeah, I had my hand up and then people just, you know, which is fine. I'm on my phone, so it's hard for me to jump in and see when there is a opening.
Sorry,
And
Christine, I thought that was from before, so go ahead.
yeah, I lowered it and then I raised it again. But no, I totally agree with you, Ayo, that we need to get organized about these asks. And I have a few comments. It's not like we didn't ask for shade structures before. We were always shut down by parks saying it's too expensive or they don't know how to maintain them or some very lame excuse for that. I would suggest that the CAG goes back, or we as the CAG goes back to our members and really ask them, what are the priorities? What do what do you think the needs are? And then we agree upon, you know, maybe 5 things that we really want to push and ask for now, because that's how we've been successful in the past, to come in agreement with everyone and then to just advocate for that. And I think shade is a huge issue. There's more. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Christine, do you mean ask the CAG here what they think is important and rally around that, or do a much larger ask again of the community?
Well, a lot of people that are on the CAG represent larger communities, right? So I think we need to have a process of really building consensus about what is important and bring that to the CAG, and then the CAG can advocate for it, because that's what our function is, right? We are an advisory board that's supposed to advise the city about the needs that we have as a community.
Yep.
But Christine, I'm sorry, may I?
Yeah, go ahead, Ayo.
Yeah, Christine, I kind of disagree with you. So, don't have fridge bite me when I see you on the block. Only kidding. I kind of disagree with you, Christine, because we've been at this for a long time. You know, and I feel we know what our community wants. And, you know, we can review some of the things that we've asked for before and they've said no to, and see whether or not, but I feel like the more you add to this ask, the more ways they have in which to just not address anything at all. But you know, I mean, do you have something in mind other than what we're discussing right now, which is shade and structures? Because I don't think we need to go back to our communities to ask whether or not that makes sense. I think our communities are counting on us to make sure that something sensible and simple as this occurs. Are there more things?
Well, I would like to have, at least a little bit of time to think about that. And, I'm not saying we should start like a huge outreach campaign, but I just want to make sure everybody, also people that don't attend the CAG, are just in the know about what we want to accomplish, and maybe somebody else has another really urgent thing that's on their mind. I just want to be as inclusive as possible, because not everybody attends CAG meetings, and they might just feel like, yeah, we had things to say too, but now they weren't included.
Can I respond one more time and then I'm done?
Yes.
Christine, and I'd like to hear what anybody else has to say. It would be okay, in my opinion, to ask for one thing now and for something else later on, and for something else later on. I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where we're going to have a round table of, everybody agreeing to, everything or just one thing. But I just feel like if we need to ask for something more, then we should ask for it when we talk about it, or we come back with communication from outreach to our members or constituents or whatever they might be. Would it be possible to just do this one thing? Because, time is marching on. I mean, and this is just one thing, not everything. But I will defer to whatever this group thinks about it.
So just to suggest one other thing, possibly that could benefit all of us, is access to power. And Martin, if you were on the walk on the north end of the park, they had requested a place they could plug in. They did not get it. They didn't get police call boxes. We can learn from their list, possibly, of what they didn't get and what they're now fundraising for, to consider what might we use a place to charge, could be solar, right? A place to charge a phone. Imagine, I'm thinking of there's so many people who dance in the park. What if they could just plug in there for as an example of recreation that has happened traditionally in that park, that there's now no space created for and no shade.
I have my hand up. I guess I'll.
Yeah, go ahead, Robin.
Get in. The urgency, first of all, when we did the walking tour of fields 1 and 2 about a month ago, I brought this up then about the lack of shade structures and dugouts. And the urgency for me in this matter is that they're going to open that field in 2 months. And this is an opportunity for them to continue to add those features structurally without anybody using the fields. Once they're open, I think it's never going to happen. Then they'll have to close the fields, and it'll be another year before they do the work. And then before they begin working on the other fields, they can add that in. Not only, and I'm speaking as a ball player and as a parent of ball players, having stood out in the hot sun and dragging tarps to fields. Not only that, but I don't know if anyone's been to the new playground. I don't even think it's right down further south, which is what the state, they built a new playground, and there's no shade anywhere. So there's no shade being put in any of these park spaces. As far as things like what you just mentioned, like plugging in your phone and power stations, that's like, those are brilliant things. But, it took a lot for them to put in power at the amphitheater. And the argument was, and I pushed for that, you're going to have people bringing in gas powered generators into the park. It's no different than, the shade. So if we're trying to build a park for the 21st century, yeah, we could get all those things added in. Thank you.
Diane?
Thank you. I just wanted to share that when we were on the walkthrough, I spent a lot of time talking to a person from DDC named Elvis, and I complained quite a lot about the lack of shade. And his advice to me was that while it might be a little bit late in the game to advocate for, meaningful changes in the south area, particularly around the nature exploration area and the new ball fields, that it was not too late for the CAG to advocate for a better treatment of space and shade in the northern end, and not huge structural changes, but maybe like different considerations about shade and that sort of thing. So just wanted to throw it out there that I think that time is short in the south end, but at least at that point, we had some more runway in the north end to ask for changes. I think that, it would be good for the CAG, maybe this is kind of bringing together what Io and Christina are saying, is that if the CAG could propose some things and then share that proposal with the community and just get some quick feedback, at least on the south end, we might be able to move quickly. And then if we could practice the regular feedback from the community by using some of these CAG only sessions to, propose plans, go through them, and then, allow Paula and Tara to share those with the entire CAG, get feedback, get things voted on, stuff like that. Maybe we could tackle things, a little bit at a time, get some of the more urgent things handled fairly quickly, and then, maybe take a little bit more time for some of the stuff that's apparently not going to happen for a couple of years. But I think it would be helpful if we did two things. First of all, the Public Design Commission presentation that I referred to earlier is probably just what DDC will share with us or send us back to if we ask where the shade is, because it's in there. So we might be able to save some time by looking at that ourselves. And then second, I think it would be helpful to our fellow CAG members who can't always be at these meetings, if there could be a proposal that they could react to rather than just leaving a wide open question and saying, you have to think of something. And those are the two things that I would propose doing.
What do people think about that?
I like it.
Sounds good, makes sense.
Yeah, I'm in favor too.
Great. Diane, would you be willing to start a document?
Sure, I could do that.
Okay.
Thank you, madam.
And I can share it with everybody. And who wants to look at the PDC document to try to interpret where the shade is?
Io Harrington.
All right. Great. Awesome. Diane to start document, Io to look at the PDC document or presentation. Anything else? I have a couple updates to share. Can we transition to that? No? Wendy,
Absolutely.
Okay. I reached out to Lorian Farrell, the Resiliency Deputy Commissioner at DEP, and she is happy to come to a CAG meeting. I mentioned coming either in July or September, since we haven't decided if we're going to have an August meeting. She said September works out better for her. And she'll have more to say by then anyway about how DEP is going to manage the floodgates. So more on that, but I think she'll be coming to our September meeting. And then the other thing is not so much an update, but a question. And I guess I should, there's not too many CAG members, on the line now. But just like last year, we wanted to pose to you whether we should have an August meeting or if there could be a written update from DDC instead, which is what we did last year.
I don't want to see any of you in August.
I was going to propose a picnic for the CAG.
So what do you think? Should I poll the whole CAG about this August meeting, or do we think we have consensus here about not having one? Okay, I'm seeing some.
I don't hear any objection to not
Yeah.
having a meeting in August.
I'm okay with it as long as we can double check with Desiree before we don't have the meeting, to make sure that nothing has changed in the schedule that she shared today. So, you know, my only desire to have an August meeting would be to make sure that they don't slip in some wacky schedule change and then say, oh, well, the CAG didn't meet and the community board didn't meet, so we couldn't tell you. Sorry, the North End is closed.
I believe last year we asked that they provide like a written update.
Yeah.
Us, so we could just ask them to do the same, that in lieu of a meeting that we would want them to basically give like a similar agenda document that they've been thankfully back on track with. Send that to us by a certain date for you all to review over the month of August.
Yeah, and then maybe we could just send them a couple of questions saying, are you sure all this stuff is still happening when you said it was going to happen, and just ask them to confirm in writing, yes, it's fine, you can take August off and things will be the same when you come back in September.
Yep.
I do want to go back though to I think, was it Michael? All right. Anyway, I do want to, yeah, so all of that's fine with me, but I do want to hold on to the idea of asking our electeds for funding. We can figure out what it is and we can talk about it, maybe have that on the September agenda. They're not going to be making decisions until February, March of 2025. But, you know, having it on their mental radar is kind of important in advance. Hopping off. Happy Thursday and goodbye.
Bye, Io.
I'm just realizing there's some arts and culture grant due to the city, but it's like due like tomorrow. I don't know if I don't think this fits in that category, but I'll stop there. Wish you all a happy 4th. And hopefully, you know, it'll be interesting to see how well the new park at 42nd Street, at Pier 42 fares once it's officially open. And
I had some quick question for the Stuytown, the up there people. I mean, have you been doing any surveys, asking people what's missing for them? I mean, that's something that can happen, I suppose, going forward, you know, and get more community involvement. But anyway, that's just a thing.
No, I have to admit that the Stuyvesant town community is largely disengaged about what's going on. So whatever we decide, that's what they get.
Okay. Thanks for that comment. Thank you. I'm just gonna say, like, once the ball fields are open and people are playing, that's the opportunity for the community to say, where's the dugout? Why are there no benches? Where's the
Well,
shade? You know, all that kind of
actually, I do have to say that the lack of shade in Stuycove Park is really upsetting to just about everybody.
So if you were, if we could get, you know, is there, you know, how do you get the citizens then to rally and get them to put in shade, you know?
Well, the tenants association could consider doing a survey or a questionnaire or a petition, something like that.
At any rate, I mean, why, before they all leave and go back to Long Island.
well, but also, I think the idea of surveying people is very good if you have and if people are there are responsive to that sort of thing. It would be interesting to know, it would even be a way to promote that the park is open again, because I bet a lot of people aren't aware that it is. And, you know, that I think that would be a good idea. And because it's certainly ahead of where we are, you know, in terms of completion, and it could certainly help us help all of us, right? If there's the first completed part is not really complete and it's causing perhaps health issues or people not to use the park.
Right. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, everyone.
Happy
I think
Fourth.
we should adjourn. Hope you have some good time off next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.